What's up, guys? It's Zachy J, and today we're going to be talking about the original transhumanists. That's right. Who were the original transhumanists if they weren't from the modern times? Well, let me posit this. The original transhumanists were the ancient yogis from Patanjali in prior to this, all the way up to the 11th century and even beyond that, right? Those were the original transhumanists. But before we figure out why they were the original transhumanists, let's kind of figure out what's up with transhumanism today, right? Transhumanism is this branch of futuristic technology that is present in the way that we're building today with our current technology, and it seeks to promote human longevity, the quality of life, of course, to live forever. In a post-scarcity society where resources are abundant and technology is advanced, we have the also ability to elongate the human life past our average of like 80 years now into maybe hundreds of years and potentially infinite, because there'll be technologies, right, both biological and computational technologies, where if your consciousness wants to live forever, perhaps it would prefer to be uploaded to the server, right? It's uploaded into an afterlife or into a new paradigm where you can live forever and potentially even choose your afterlife based off of a digital simulation. Or the transhumanists are building technologies which can, all this stuff can seem a little Black Mirror-ish. Building technologies like cloning, right? You can clone a body, and maybe you might want to use that body or some of the organs in it, right? And so you could potentially live forever just by cloning a younger version of yourself and just taking, say, the consciousness over here, your head, just attaching it to your new fancy body. And this technology was built right now with the silicone and the electrical and the digital, but the yogis from back in the day were tackling the same problem, but with different resources at their disposal. So they weren't using the silicone, the digital, the computational. They were using the spiritual. They were using consciousness. They were using meditation, and they were describing systems that allow you to keep your consciousness, to preserve your consciousness, and to advance it, especially after death. And that's why they're the original transhumanists. But let's go even deeper, okay? Let's figure out some of their stories about how they are solving for that problem. So they're solving for that problem, and this is like a famous one, like Tipua, like this Tibetan Indian holy man, this monk, right? How did he get born? He was born off of reincarnation, and his story was there's a death in Tibet, and the Lama helps the soul be guided, and teaching the soul how to, what's called consciousness transference. And it's transferring the soul, but instead of transferring it directly, it transfers it to the pigeon. And the pigeon, a dead pigeon, comes to life, it spreads its wings, flies all the way to India, where it comes across a child on a pyre. And as the body was about to be burned, the pigeon transfers the consciousness, or the yogi transfers the consciousness from the pigeon to the child, thus being reborn in a new vessel, right? And there's other fantastic reincarnation stories that are out there too. You have the classic and probably the well-known one, where the Dalai Lama is, to find the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama, they'll walk around with toys of the previous incarnation, and if the child plays with the toys, then there it is, right? That must be him. And you even have other modern takes on reincarnation too, where people are coming back and they're being born in their part of the world with memories from a wholly different part of the world, from a different time frame, from an adult, right? And this child's talking about things that an adult would know that lives far away. So isn't that interesting, right? So what is up with this consciousness, and can it live forever? Well, if you're going by the ancient sutras, they're going to say, yeah, it's been done. It has been, people are already doing it, and they're still doing it. And then you're going to look at to our current time too. And our scientists are like, it's just right around the corner. We are right around the corner before you're easily living 200 years. And all you have to do is when when your subscription is about to end, you just renew, right? But if we look at the spiritual technology and we don't ignore that thing, how do we get there, right? Is it even possible? Like if these two technologies were in a race, which one would cross the finish line? Mm-hmm. So some people, like the yogis, would think that they have already crossed the finish line. And is that possible? Well, if you have been studying consciousness, you'll notice that consciousness, especially if you read the sutras, we'll talk about this too. The consciousness goes through your waking day, right? It goes through deep sleep, and it goes through the dreams of sleep. It goes through all these states of being, even altered consciousness. And if it can go through those ones, even in your deep sleep, and with the awareness that you have around that, your processing ability to understand information in that state, right? It's pretty low. It's almost none. But your consciousness still perseveres. Even as you go through the dream state and experience all these other things, could be wonderful, could be terrifying, still your consciousness persists, just as it does in the waking state. And that's what the yogis are preparing you for. They're preparing that consciousness that's going through all these different state changes to also go through the state change of death, right? But to do it skillfully with skillful means. And if you can cultivate your consciousness to the point where you can hold on to it in the dream, this is how they build their stress system, right? If you can hold on to it in the dream, and you can hold on to it in deep sleep, you can probably hold on to it in death. You don't need your body to cultivate your consciousness now. The benefits of modern technology, which is, I'm going to have to give a couple, tips of the hat to modern technology, is it's going to be easier. Like once the technology is hit and it's grounded, it might morph out onto society based off of the moral systems that we choose to govern this new technology, like for clones, and are we allowed to kill the clones in order to get organs? Is that, should we, and what they're doing to get around that is just producing clones that don't have like brains, that's all like current technology. That's all right there. Anyways, so the benefits of the modern technology is that it'll be so much faster, right? You don't have to wait 10 years of training your consciousness to get there. You can just sign up. You can just pay some money, and you'll have a product and a service by the end of it. But what are we missing out on if we go down that route instead of the other route, right? Because if you think about the gambit is that life doesn't end on death if you're skilled. Instead, it can go on forever. And if that is the case, what is 10 years? of training for lifetimes of cultivation, right? And that's a different person. It's going to create a different type of human species depending on where we go. Like, technology maps out onto us all the time, right? As soon as we started turning on lights, our circadian rhythms go out of whack. When you're turning on lights in the middle of the night, right? Now that we're opening up screens, the whole population changes. The way we consume information, the way we structure our own neural networks in our brains, completely different now. And the type of brain that's going to take, and the type of humans that it takes to cross the spiritual threshold with their technology that they're building, and the ones that are being technologically driven, they're so different that I do think there's a place for both the future and the past to exist, but I do think they need to happen in a parallel path. It doesn't need to be one or the other. Because if it's one, then you have all the potentially misshapen creatures of the Matrix, where you're plugged in and you're uploading your brain in a jar, right? It was a common trope. You could just be a brain in a jar and you might be happy because there's an electrical probe right on that happiness center, and you can just hit a button and just like stimulate it. Like, that could be equally of appealing afterlife for like a hyper rationalist type individual, right? But some people might want more out of life, and they might think there is more to life in the container that technology can provide. And it's a beautiful container if it's keeping us vibrant and healthy. But we've all seen some sci-fi future where it's dystopian. It could easily go there. So we do need to have parallel pathing, because we're going to be living forever anyways, okay? So if you're living forever with technology, you might as well have people figuring out this other spiritual technology too. So if that one works, and that bet pays off, and our technology pays off, we can live happily ever after. Because now you have powerful consciousnesses elevating themselves and elevating other people, and we're all sharing this consciousness together. And since we're all sharing it, like, fortunately, unfortunately, we all matter. You matter, right? And so if you matter, it matters what you do with your consciousness. And by improving it, you're going to be improving it for everyone else too, especially the people around you. They will be directly impacted by the quality of your consciousness. So I highly recommend, if you are looking to develop yourself and your consciousness, to take it seriously, because it matters. It matters. And the yogis knew it, and our transhumanist friends, they know it. And they're all like pointing at taking this consciousness into the future, how to do that, right? And the yogis were insistent upon taking your consciousness into the future as well, and making sure that you have quality rebirths. Even if you don't believe in like reincarnation and everything like that, it's at least interesting to think, and it might be a bet worth taking, that you can improve your quality of your consciousness. And then even in death, the dividends will pay back. Like, you will have a return on your investment. Okay, so that is why the yogis were the original transhumanists. And thank you all for listening. I deeply appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I can't wait to talk to you all soon. It was awesome. I'll see you later, okay? Have a good one.